So, for years, my mom and sister kept trying to patch things up between me and my ex, but I ended up marrying someone else and even got pregnant. Throwback to when I was 16, I started dating my brother's best friend. We stayed together until I graduated high school. He proposed, but I turned him down. Family drama galore. They kept begging me to reconsider, saying we could have a long engagement or promise to work things out with my brother, who's 36 now. The whole ordeal hit him hard, but with my sister, she's 32, our relationship never bounced back. She was convinced my ex was perfect for me and went overboard when she started dating his brother. Everywhere I went, my siblings invited my ex, even to family holidays. I kept quiet since, well, he was their friend too. But then my sister started pushing for us to get back together. She attempted everything, from blind dates to making us share a room during holidays. Every event, there he was. I finally had enough and asked my parents to step in. They laid down the law with my siblings, cutting back on the invites for my ex. Things got a bit better, but while my brother backed off, my sister didn't. The breaking point came when I met my now husband during a semester abroad. He was from another university in the same country, and we just clicked. It was so magical, and we got engaged after a year of dating. Most of my family was thrilled, except for my sister. She kept saying I was just in the honeymoon phase and that I'd snap out of it. Spoiler, I didn't. After countless fights and her ongoing attempts to reunite me with my ex, I finally told her if she tried anything again, I'd cut her off. What does she do after that warning? She makes me her maid of honor and pairs one of her friends with my husband at her wedding. We didn't realize her plan until the reception when her friend tried to hit on my husband. My sister claimed that since we weren't married yet, it was okay to explore other options. I left the party, and the next day I explained to my parents and brother that I wouldn't talk to her anymore. If they tried to mediate, I'd cut them off too. My mom was heartbroken and tried to negotiate, but my dad and brother supported my decision. Apart from 2 half-hearted attempts from my mom, I haven't spoken or written to my sister in the past 6 years. She's tried everything to reconcile. Gifts, tantrums, you name it. At family events, I ignore her completely. She initially made snarky comments, but eventually gave up when no one backed her. She had a meltdown when she found out she was invited to my wedding, but wasn't involved in any preparations. My brother feels guilty for going along with the whole ex thing for so long, and his relationship with my ex has suffered. They still talk, but they're not as close. Fast forward to a few weeks ago, it was my mom's birthday, and I announced that I'm expecting my first child. A girl, the first granddaughter. Everyone was overjoyed except my sister. My mom asked me to tease shortly after, and my gut said not to go, but I wanted to stay positive. When I arrived, I noticed my sister's car. Inside, there she was with her husband, my ex, and my ex's mom. They wanted an intervention, claiming my childish behavior had gone on too long. My ex tried to play the romantic card. His mom blamed me for hurting my sister, and my brother-in-law had the nerve to call me hurtful and say I needed to grow up since I was having a baby. My mom read a letter about how she was hurt that her daughters weren't close, and my sister cried through her own letter. I was texting my family, dad, brother, husband, in disbelief. My brother saved the day, arriving furious, grabbing my stuff, and telling everyone how disappointed and disgusted he was. We waited outside until my dad and husband showed up, by which point I was a sobbing mess. The next day, I sent an email to everyone except my mom with my lawyer's contact info, stating I didn't want any further contact and would get the police involved if they tried. My dad and brother still support me, but others in the family don't. Some mutual friends even reached out, worried about my sister, claiming she's saying my husband is keeping me from my family. I hate public drama, but I took to Facebook to lay out the whole story. Now, my sister, her husband, and my ex are being dragged online, which honestly feels deserved. My mom's inconsolable, but that's less painful than her intervention. Recently, I agreed to talk to her, laying down strict conditions. Therapy, family therapy, clear boundaries, no info sharing with my sister, and separate holidays. If she ever pulls a stunt like this again, she'll be cut off for good. She thinks it's too much, but is willing to comply. So here's the deal. My sister thought cutting ties with our mom meant she'd instantly get updates on baby news and everything would be hunky-dory. I had to explain that it's a whole process. She needs to genuinely show she's changed. My dad and brother won't even talk to my sister anymore and keep saying sorry for not stepping in sooner. We've forgiven them because they've grown and moved on. My husband backs me 100% on whatever I decide, but my mother-in-law isn't sure cutting my mom off from her granddaughter is the best move. Ultimately, she says it's my call. And now I'm stuck on what to do about my mom. When people comment and ask for updates, I get some pretty wild suggestions. Like one person said, "Now that you're pregnant, you should stop pretending with your husband and get back with your ex for your happily ever after." Seriously? Others wonder if my ex and his family would even accept my baby. My sister claims she's not trying to play matchmaker anymore, but says I can't keep her from being an aunt. She even called me a bad sister for being close with my sisters-in-law, who are awesome. I don't believe her for a second. Someone commented that my mom couldn't be my best friend without me dating my ex, and I'm like, what even is her thought process? My husband thinks she might be mentally unwell. The creepiest part? My ex still has the mixtapes and CDs I made for him when we were dating, like 20 years ago. Anyway, my brother started cutting off my ex when I told everyone I was super uncomfortable with him always being around. I was away at college but visited during breaks, and my brother made a big effort to make my husband feel welcome, which only made my ex feel more betrayed. Now, my brother and my husband are super close, and he only talks to my ex if it's about our nephew or to be polite. A lot of folks think my mom backing my sister is why she's still at it. That really bums me out because my mom has always been super nice to my husband. Revisiting their whole relationship now feels like such a letdown. Quick backstory. I'm not Indian or from a religious family. My parents were nice and encouraged me to go to college. But now it seems my dad genuinely supported me more, and my mom might have just been playing along with my sister's weird beliefs. My sister had this fantasy about us being best friends married to brothers. I broke up with my ex when I was 18 because I didn't want to get married or engaged. My sister's obsession comes from this idea that we'd be married to brothers and be besties. My mom has always been sweet to my husband, but now I think it might have been an act, which makes me really sad. My ex has been with others since we broke up and has 2 kids with another ex, but he's never married. My sister thinks it's romantic because he's only ever wanted to marry me. His obsessive behavior wasn't just with me. He was the same with his kids' mom. But now, thanks to my sister, he's refocusing on me, hoping to get back in my good graces so she can play auntie. When I told my parents I felt uncomfortable with my ex being around, my mom told my dad she was planning a special tea for me, so he should give us some space. My dad left to hang with his brother, thinking it was sweet. He's really pissed off now. My husband tried hard to get along with my sister, but now just ignores her, thinking she might be mentally unwell. We have no idea if she is or not, but there's no excuse for her behavior. My parents seem supportive of me not wanting to be around my ex, but it's clear only my dad really agreed. When my mom set up a tea party, she didn't let my dad stay, thinking it was quality time. He's angry now. The ex and his mom got invited to a family event because they thought it would help me face my issues with my sister. Not exactly helpful. We're not Indian, not religious, and my husband and I are the same race. There's no wealth gap between my ex and my husband either. My sisters-in-law, both my brother's wife and my husband's sisters, are furious about all this. My husband and his sisters had a talk with their mom about her comment, making her understand how upsetting it was. My brother and his wife are even thinking of cutting off contact with my mom permanently. They won't let her see my nephews for now. The more I think about it, the more I might need to go no contact with my mom for my child's sake. My husband is devastated, thinking all his interactions with my mom were fake. He's even more upset because she made me doubt if I was a good person. There are still countless conversations to have with my family, but I'm definitely getting a restraining order against my sister and my ex. After talking to my mom, she insists she knows best and says I'm a bad person. She's talking about getting grandparents' rights or even custody. I'm not actually worried about that, but it still makes me panic. We sent her a letter about it. My dad moved out for good, saying he couldn't support her terrorizing me. My brother and his wife also cut contact, even though it seems sudden. They realized it was necessary after my husband's intervention. My husband is heartbroken by my mom's behavior. He's done with her. My dad and brother keep apologizing for not stopping this sooner. Despite everything, they support me fully and are ready to help fight any ridiculous battles my mom or sister throw our way. December 17th, 2021. Update. Thanks for all the supportive messages. Here's a bit more info. My brother and his wife sat down with their kids and explained that grandma wasn't well and had tried to hurt me and the baby. They said she wouldn't be in their lives anymore, but still loves them. The kids are smart and understood. They were also told their aunt is no longer in their lives, but they didn't mind since she wasn't good to them anyway. My mom lost it when she found out and started claiming she had rights to see her grandkids. My dad is looking for a permanent place, but is staying with us until January. He's really sad, has called divorce lawyers, and moved his bank stuff around. He's getting endless messages and calls from my mom, but isn't replying. His lawyer advised him not to block her yet. He considered forgiving her, but my blood pressure spiked, and it was a mess. My mom and sister showed up at my house uninvited, and I didn't let them in. My cleaning lady, not knowing the situation, let them in earlier. Thankfully, my sister-in-law got them to leave. Later, my dad, my brother, and my husband went home to grab my dad's things. My sister was there, screaming that my dad destroyed her family. My dad told my sister and mom they almost killed the baby and that he didn't want anything to do with them again. My sister kept messaging my brother for help, but he isn't responding. It's heartbreaking since my nephew is losing so much family because of his mom's ideas, but it is what it is. My lawyer sent a letter to my mom, warning her to stop harassing me or it'd become a legal matter. My brother did the same. Both my mom and sister refused therapy, which shows they've been in agreement for a long time. I'm focusing on spending the holidays with my family, staying healthy, and going to therapy. March 30th, 2022. Update. Hey everyone. Thanks for all the kind messages and advice. You all helped us be even more cautious. We waited a while before announcing the baby's gender because of a previous loss and wanted to be sure. After announcing it, my husband and I felt unsafe and found a tracker on my dog's vest, which led us to move. We're renting a new place while renting out our old home. Despite all this, we're trying to stay positive. Thanks for the continued support. Man, things have been rough. My parents' house just feels totally ruined and kind of tainted now. It's not just me feeling this way. My brothers, dad, even my husband and his family too. We all had to change our numbers, get new electronics, and let our employers, friends, and the police know what was going on. We also started therapy, both individually and as a family. My dad and brother are racked with guilt over everything, even though I've totally forgiven them. But hey, we're healing together. On the other hand, my mom and sister are adamant they did nothing wrong and don't need therapy. My dad went as far as updating his will. My sister's son gets a trust fund and some inheritance. But my sister, she gets a token amount. Yep, he's done with her. I felt bad for her at first, but now I've decided to focus on my baby. She's here, and we feel so blessed. It's been a wild ride, though. We became so paranoid that we started testing people we weren't sure about by telling them I was in labor. It worked like magic. We found out who was leaking info to my mom and sister and cut them off. The rest of the folks understood once we explained the situation. Oh, and my ex, who my friends now hilariously call Bate, went around claiming the baby was his. Nobody believes him anymore, but it made my husband report his crazy behavior to Bates' employer. Long story short, he got suspended, and I'm pretty sure he'll be fired soon because they keep asking us for more info and seem super apologetic. My mom's been trying to track us down, but everyone who knows where we are has gone no contact with her. My dad's lawyer even sent her a letter saying that all communication has to go through lawyers from now on because of her instability. It's been just us and my dad because I felt bad about him being alone. He promises he's fine and that none of this is my fault, but I still feel guilty sometimes. He's been the best babysitter, feeder, and diaper changer ever. My nephews are as loving as always, and my dad even managed to visit with my sister's son. This happened after she started making videos threatening to harm herself if my husband didn't stop alienating her family. So my dad emailed her about seeing her son and threatened to call the police about her self-harm threats, which seemed to stop her. Someone suggested I gave Bati's false hope, but that's just not true. I spent years uncomfortable, waiting for him to move on. After I spoke up and met my husband, I had a long engagement and finally married after my sister. I still love my mom and sister, but choose a healthy life for my family over that love. Surprisingly, I've found so much loyalty, love, and compassion through all this chaos. As strange as it sounds, I feel lucky it all blew up. So, big hugs from me. Update. We officially moved into a new house on June 25th, 2022, with my dad moving into the guest house. We had numerous discussions, in and out of therapy, and decided that while we want him close, we all need our space. We're still renting out the old place, and we'll figure out what to do with it later. My dad now sees all the grandkids together about 3 times a week. He still has to see my sister's kids separately because she won't let him take the kid unless she knows where he lives, which, given her craziness, we don't want her near us. Mom complained to the lawyers about how unfair it is that Dad still gets to see all the grandkids, but there's nothing she can do. About a month ago, Dad confessed he's been funding my nephew's schooling and babysitting, which is why my sister lets him see her son. He felt guilty for hiding it, but I assured him he did nothing wrong. On Mother's Day, Dad got an email with a link to an Instagram account featuring a sad video about Mom, claiming her family abandoned her and painting my sister as a saint. It was pathetic and enraged me, but I just sent it to the lawyer. Dad officially filed for divorce in May, and the process is ongoing. Mom insists he's wrong, but Dad said he'd rather drink bleach than go back to her, so I think it's final. My brother and husband took Dad out for Father's Day, and they had a blast. My sister posted a ton of stuff that day, but they managed to block Dad from seeing any of it so he could enjoy his time. They even did a camping trip with the kids by getting a hotel suite and setting up a tent inside. Honestly, having the baby has been one of the best things ever. Seeing my husband being the amazing father I knew he would be makes me so happy. Sure, it's exhausting, but we have so much support, and I feel incredibly grateful. My sisters-in-law and I now have a little calendar for all the kids' activities. The kids are obsessed with the baby and call themselves her protectors. Family time is now fun and not stressful, especially without my sister around. I know it sounds bad, but she just sucks the positivity out of the room. My mother-in-law loves spending time with the baby and stays in the guest room once a week. She's been super respectful and doesn't push for sleepovers or anything. Yes, I do break down sometimes because I miss my mom, the version I thought I had. Not the one who told me I'd be a terrible mother. But overall, I'm feeling really lucky and surrounded by love. Man, where do I even start? So, there's this woman who's just awful. My therapist always tells me that life's a marathon and to focus on the good stuff. Speaking of good stuff, Bates got fired, which is a huge relief. Not only did he lose his job, but his reputation in the industry is absolutely trashed, like nuclear-level trashed. His brother Bill still has his job, but that's only because his industry doesn't really care about reputations as much. Bates sent me this super long, 12-page, double-sided, single-spaced letter whining about how hurt he is because I'm denying him what's his. He also claimed my husband is so threatened by him that he had to destroy him professionally. I didn't bother reading it. My lawyer did and gave me the gist. Plus, I heard through the grapevine. No, I don't ask. People just tell me because they know Bates is stalking me, that the mother of his kids moved away and he couldn't care less. This guy doesn't even care about his own kids, but wants to play house with me and my baby. Pathetic, right? Oh, and he's not going to be homeless or anything because his mom let him move back in with her. So, yeah, not much learning happening there. Not the flashiest of updates, but that's what's up. Oh, and my husband burned or donated everything my mom or parents gave him with my dad's blessing. He says life's too short to hold on to those memories. One commenter said they're glad I'm keeping the good parts of my family intact. They didn't get the firing part, though. Well, because Bates was in a super tight-knit industry, his bad rep totally screwed him. He was seen as this nice, feminist single dad before all this. He even lied to coworkers about how long we were together. Another commenter from India said they respect what I'm going through and hope it ends soon so I can reunite with my mom. That's sweet, but I'm never talking to my mom again. I miss her a lot and cry often over it, but she's not who I thought she was. My baby deserves the best family, and unfortunately, she's not part of it. Update time. It's been a while, but here's the latest. My parents are divorced now. After lots of fights and tantrums from my mom, she kept the house and got a bulk payment. But that's it. My dad is like a new man. We're all so happy for him. Throwing it back a bit, when all this drama started, we didn't fire our cleaning lady. She's been part of my husband's family for decades. I was stressed about her losing work because of my crazy family. My dad told her she was on paid vacation until we moved to a new house. She was so happy, and her family was too. My dad even started getting food and stuff for them. Turns out she has a sister who owns a nail salon, and now my dad's dating her. She's lovely, has grown kids, and understands the situation well. My dad made it clear he's not looking to move or get married, and she's cool with that. My mom nearly had a stroke when she heard about his new relationship. She called it a midlife crisis and said he was trying to be a sugar daddy. She's struggling now, especially with budgeting, because my dad used to handle all that. My sister is also having a hard time since my dad stopped helping her with money. And get this, my nephew started calling my kid unfair names and even pushed one of my nephews on my husband's side at a birthday party. My dad talked to my sister about it, but she was stubborn and did nothing. So my dad cut them off. Now my nephew goes to public school because my husband made my dad cut them off. As for Bates, he's still unemployed. He was in an industry dealing with vulnerable women and stalking stuff. The irony, right? That's why he got fired. The organization didn't want any of this mess on them. He sent 2 more long, rambling letters, but my lawyer deals with those. Love that guy, seriously. Apart from some gossip, Bates hasn't caused any new problems. One weird thing happened, though. I was at the grocery store and some random woman asked if my kid was Bates's baby. I was stunned. Turns out, Bates is still going around saying my kid is his, and someone close to us leaked a family photo to him. We found out it was my dad's sisters feeding info to my mom. My dad cut them off too. On a happier note, my brother and his family are doing great. We've had some awesome family holidays, and there are also no contact with my mom and sister. My sister-in-law is super happy about it since she never really liked our mom anyway. My in-laws are fantastic. We even let my mother-in-law babysit overnight now. She loves it, and so do the kids. They play this cute game where they pretend to be on an airplane. Oh, she had to make her socials private because my mom was stalking her. My husband keeps me sane through all this. We're thinking about having another baby or maybe adopting. We have a great support system, so we're lucky to have these choices. I still miss my mom a lot, especially during milestones, but my family's safety comes first. Last fun fact, for Father's Day, they all went camping. Had a great time except for some mosquito bites and sunburns.